Mm-hmm.
I think that has direct comparison with what's happening now. With the chap that rides on horseback down to Churton. Yeah, testosterone driven, largely.
Yeah, because he comes from those secret services, so his background is basically in probably killing people or spying or commanding in at war.
And he's a Georgian, yes?
Uh, Stalin, yes, but not Putin.
Oh, not. Oh, sorry. Oh, okay. Oh, wrong again.
What a coincidence! What a coincidence. So, how do you understand the word boundaries? So, what do you hear behind it? Valkyrie, for example, I don't see many ladies tonight, so that would be really cool to hear what you have to say. How are you feeling today? Have you been to Theory of Everything before? Okay. We'll give you a megaphone, so if you wish to speak, you can accept it, and everybody in the room are going to hear you. There. There. Hello. 1 2 1 2. I can't hear you.
Who's talking?
Valkyrie.
Oh, so back.
Oh, okay. Maybe, probably your microphone is not working, Valkyrie. So, yeah. Anyway, once you get once you have like a connection and sound, we'd be happy to hear from you. But if you don't want to speak, also you don't have to. You can always pass. Okay, so again about boundaries. I think my main thought that.
Admiral? Graham? You're an admiral, is that right?
Who?
Navy, American admiral. Oh. We were just talking about parallels between the Falklands and the Ukraine. We have a American admiral, I think.
Paul, I think you are the most. I think that you're much more educated in military and historical points of things, like events and background of the world right now. I'm not knowledgeable about history, so that would be great if you could become an expert tonight and tell us a little bit more of a lecture about what you think about the political situation in the world. I'm not sure if you want to. Well, I'll just want to hear that from you.
I'm happy to do that. That's what made the parallel between what Putin's doing now towards Ukraine and what General Galtieri did towards the Falklands.
Can you tell me more about both?
Politically.
Yeah. Both
Galtieri,
situations.
The Falklands, or as they call the Malvinas. Well, Argentina always had a claim on Malvinas, they call the islands down in the Falklands, which is somewhere down south. Admiral would know. So they invaded the Falklands. Mrs. Thatcher sent a task force over, and basically they were removed, and the Falklands remained part of Britain. I think it's part of Great Britain, or the British Protectorate anyway. And I thought there was a parallel between that and what's happening in the Ukraine now. You've got this hard man who's come under political pressure in order to distract attention from, I believe you have riots in Russia due to Lukashenko poisoned, is that right? The opposition to Putin?
Yeah, to be honest, I didn't follow political news for a long time. I started being interested in politics like 2 years ago or something. So I missed a lot of events in the 90s, even in Russia. I was like a happy kid and never heard about those things. I was interested in voyagers and opportunities.
Not Lysenko, but whatever his name is, I'm sorry.
Poroshenko, maybe.
I can't. Yeah, he was poisoned by Putin and his cronies. I think the point is, and I'm happy for Oleg to correct me, when the Soviet Union fell apart, I think there was an agreement by Perry, was it, that NATO would not expand onto the borders of Russia.
Yeah, and that's
so,
totally going on.
There's a bit of a case there, but Ukraine is an independent country. But that's his case. That's his case. That we expanded onto the borders of Russia with NATO.
Mm-hmm.
There are countries that border onto Russia, such as Finland, who aren't members of NATO.
Mm-hmm.
I'm pretty sure Graham is an admiral. They're right, Graham.
Paul has a good memory, so you have to confess. Be honest in the space.
He may
It's a
not be
must.
at liberty to disclose his title.
Sure. Oh yeah. By the way, good point. I think I have a hand raise from Sat Internet. Is that what your name is pronounced? How? Okay. Are you still in the room? There you go. Do you want to speak? There. Yeah. You raised your hand, right? Andrei. Box. I can't hear anybody.
If I could add to that as well.
It looks like he does have a megaphone. I don't know.
Exactly. Am I glitching or the alt space? Let me change the poster. Sure. Can you give him a megaphone, Mendes?
Yeah, I mean, he has it.
No, Paul. I mean Paul. Paul's just very polite. He always drops the microphone if he doesn't speak, so it's not noisy in the space. Thanks.
Happy to be corrected. I believe there's such a thing as called the Monroe Agreement, document, or whatever it is in America, which basically says America has the right to counteract any country that threatens them. For example, if Russia put troops into Mexico, they reserve the right to do something about it. And
Yes.
also, of course, there's the Cuban Missile Crisis.
Okay, that sounds douche.
Yeah. America reserves the right to start war with any country that threatens us.
How the fuck will people threaten you? You're
We
like on a
reserve the
different
right to-
continent. It's like, look at the map, people. They're like, oh, between the war between Vietnam and America. I'm like, what? Have you seen the map? This is very far away. How come they have some problems? It's like, what the hell is this? Why would you go and
They
like?
actually lost the Vietnam War.
Yeah,
They
they
were
lost the Vietnam
About
War.
the domino effect. They felt if Vietnam fell, other countries would fall. Do you know what I mean? You know the dominoes? One after another falling down?
Yeah, but
I
it's
thought
not a
Vietnam.
war.
I'm happy to be co-
It's not a war. It's invasion. That's what I think.
It's pretty much invasion.
It sounds like invasion. Like a very large country that is located on the one side of the planet invades a very small country that is poor, much more poor, and it's on the other side of the planet. How come do you? Well, it's not a threat to your country. That's what I see.
Not at
Maybe.
all.
When they were supporting one side against the other.
So we do have something here that says we're not supposed to go looking for demons to slay, but you know, America's not as straight cut as a country as others. So a lot of background politics goes on and
Exactly. That is
Yeah.
ridiculous. It's not.
invading places.
It doesn't make sense. If you're 8-year-old or 10-year-old and you are living in right now and you are not stupid, like imagine there are kids now who are as smart as 30-year-old people right now. It's happening. Children become like exposed to this vast network of things that are able to generate money now. Like any 10-year-old boy can become a very rich person. Well, rarely, but still, there are more and more people like that in the world. And that really changes how the world is. And like for the nearest 20, 30 years, we are going to see a lot of interesting things. And they started happening. Look at this. 4 years ago, the world was very different. 10 years ago, like 15 years ago, every year the world is changing very quickly. And some things happen in a very short period of time that used to take, well, decades before to have to happen. Like in Rome Empire, for example, 2,000 years ago. They had like a whole civilization. They had education, they had democracy, they had like war, like effective war tactics. And not only war tactics, but after they defeated and like conquered some lands, you have to manage that land. That's what they got good at. Management, urban buildings, and culture and society, like a fair society. And I think they're like a different level of the spiral of the time, like a previous civilization.
Well, another thing about boundaries, Genghis Khan crossed a lot of boundaries in the European continent and was feared to take over for a long time.
Who was it? Once again?
Genghis Khan and his son.
Genghis Khan. Yeah, Genghis Khan in Russian. So it's like a Mongol, nomad warrior who gathered like a very large empire. And also remember about the China. Remember about China? They invented everything, and that was like 8,000 years ago or something. No, I'm lying there. China, it has a large history. Give me some numbers. I don't remember how old is the Chinese civilization?
Oh, pretty long, pretty old, like 50,000 or some shit. I don't remember though.
Nah, that's too much.
Or I have Google right here. They did some amazing stuff. It was a point in time where the Chinese civilization almost took over the entire world as well.
Yeah, they had 7.
They stretched pretty far.
Ooh, yeah.
Another thing about boundaries, I've had a few conversations with other military people, and we always talk about the fact that China may mobilize and could walk 1 million soldiers over here and fuck us up. So something to think about. China
easy breezy lemon squeezy, and they have a lot of technologies because everything basically is produced in China. They have
very mineral rich resource country, sort of like Africa, except more stabilized place.
Yes, I was going to share some information. Like I just learned today. I had a very old text about English text that I use for my teaching, like my classes. It was, oh my god, it's going to be hard to find. Okay, so let me go to the browser. So,
Of course, the Chinese have 1 million Uyghur Muslims in concentration camps. Sorry, the education.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nobody speaks about it. I never hear about that anywhere in my information field. I don't watch Russian TV, but still, Russian TV is like a whole terrible horseman of apocalypse. It's like a propaganda machine. Or maybe not. Or maybe that's fair news and everything else in the world is a lie. Okay. Because if you listen to Russian television, you are going to have a very different perspective of what's going on, because they have like this position where they say that everybody who are around them are out-group and they're trying to attack you they want to conquer your land, they want to take away your culture, they want to, they're aggressors. So inside Russia, they happen to, they want to make people believe that the world is hostile and vicious, and it's you don't want to live there because it's a terrible group of people, right? No moral backgrounds and stuff like that. It's a heavy propaganda machine.
I was reading about actually looking on a program about the Great Terror in 1930 in Russia. So you know what I mean. I'm sure you're familiar with what I'm talking about there.
Not really. Can you
Great
share?
Terror.
What's that? Can you tell everybody?
That's Stalin. He killed about loads of people.
How many people?
And put the Ukraine into famine, I believe.
Oh, yes. I read about it in an article of a psychologist who writes about collective traumas. If you think about it, it makes a whole lot of a sense, actually, that every nation, based on the stories, on folklore, on their history, geography, they all have collective memory. Like if you're born in some country that was like, 2 generations from war, from famine, from terrible, inhumane events, that's actually a different number.
And of course, as you know, the Germans invaded Russia on the Eastern Front, was it? Or Western Front?
Yeah, it was almost
I
conquered.
believe
Like
we lost almost 20 plus million soldiers and people.
yeah, like the largest loss of casualties, like the casualty rate was from Russian soldiers, because a lot of people just died because of all those events. If you take a map, that's just really curious to see how far it went. Like, so Moscow is far away from the actual borders, and when they invaded, like it took like so many days to pass through these different cities. Well, by foot or by car, which is not very, in that war, I think they were not as fast as it could be possible today to attack like another country.
Yeah, if you want to see interesting numbers video, there's like a war casualty count.
Oh my God, thank you.
Like 1 million people deaths. by
Yes.
degree, right?
Casualty.
And they stick it into a graph.
Oh my God, war casualty?
Bless.
4K? Are you crazy?
Throat.
Oh my God, this one?
Oh yeah, it's the first
Of
one, I
course.
think.
Hello, cool dude.
What's most worrying about the Chinese is they own 100% of Pizza Express in this country. Well, they got hooks.
Let me make it louder.
That's true. That's true. Yeah, the Chinese in
A
the
soldier
UK.
who saw battle would have to be in his late 80s at least today. Generals, political leaders, the decision makers of the war, you are still with us. And over the past few decades, we've seen authors and filmmakers rush to capture stories from survivors before this connection of memory is lost.
That's a freaking
This
interesting
project
video.
is not about individual war stories, and it's not about survivors. We're going to tally up the tens of millions of people whose lives were cut short by the war, and see how these numbers stack up to other wars in history, including trends in recent conflicts. We'll be counting soldiers and civilians separately. Each of these figures represents 1,000 people who died. Civilians were of all walks of life, whereas military deaths were almost entirely men. The average age was about 23. In most battles, for every 1,000 soldiers killed, there are more than 1,000 who are injured. The word casualty can be confusing because in military speak, it often includes both deaths and injuries, and anything else that takes a soldier out of service. Here, we're just counting the deaths, and we'll begin with American soldiers.
I think we lost a few million before.
Over 400,000 died.
That's nothing,
Most of the deaths
basically.
occurred in the European theater, fighting the Nazis. And about a quarter were in the Pacific, fighting the Japanese. When you put them on the timeline, you see that casualties were the heaviest at the end of the war. The war began on September 1st, 1939. But the US wasn't willing to join the fight until Pearl Harbor, 2 years later. The
Those-
deaths increased drastically on D-Day, when the Allies invaded Normandy. One of the most tragic moments of the war was on D-Day at Omaha Beach, where 2,500 Americans fell. So about the same number of US soldiers died on this single beach landing as the entire 13 years of the recent war in Afghanistan. The bloodiest battle in the Pacific was Okinawa, which lasted 82 days, during which 12,500 Americans died. About 5,000 of these deaths were at sea from kamikaze attacks. Now let's look at some other countries, starting with Europe. Germany started World War II when it invaded Poland. Poland ultimately lost 200,000 soldiers in the war. Most died after the invasion while the country was occupied by Germany and the Soviet Union.
So America lost 2 times more?
Germany, meanwhile, lost just 16,000 in the invasion of Poland.
Wow.
The Nazis went on to invade and conquer other countries, including Denmark, Belgium, the Netherlands, France, Greece, and Yugoslavia. France surrendered, but after losing 92,000 soldiers in the Battle of France. Over 200,000 ultimately fell, which includes deaths in POW camps, French colonies, and other places. Yugoslavia suffered almost 500,000 military. The initial invasion brought relatively few casualties.
Yeah, that's already more than America.
Deaths mounted under Nazi occupation, guerrilla fighting, civil conflict.
Yeah, 500, and America was 400 or something.
The Nazi invasions were swift, with relatively few German losses. Even the Nazi commanders expressed surprise at their success. And then we have the United Kingdom and the United States, who were not invaded, but took the fight to the Nazis. Britain lost about the same number of soldiers as the U.S., which includes the British colonies. Germany lost about 500,000 soldiers fighting the U.S. and Britain in what is known as the Western Front, which took place in France and Belgium. But most Nazi soldiers died in the East. Germany's unsuccessful invasion of the Soviet Union. The numbers are staggering. The most famous battle of the Eastern Front, and perhaps the turning point of the European War.
Yes, that was a turning.
The Germans
that was a turning
successfully
point.
took Stalingrad, but then got surrounded by the Soviets and cut off from food and ammunition. 500,000 Nazis would ultimately die in Stalingrad. Another 100,000 were taken prisoner, of which 6,000 would ever return. POWs had a low survival rate throughout World War II, and it was particularly good in the East. When you include these POWs, roughly the same number of Germans died in Stalingrad as all the Western Front fighting against France, the UK, and the US.
That's so грустно.
This was a victory for the Soviets. They suffered almost twice as many losses as Germany. The Soviet Union would eventually defeat the once unstoppable German army.
Damn, look at all them
3 million
people,
Nazi
y'all.
soldiers.
And more than Germany. Not Germany, it's like the
Winning the
whole,
war,
surrendered countries. It's a lot of population of over whole Europe.
Yeah, I think it was like,
Look at this! It's ridiculous! It's ridiculous, man!
Yeah.
Of course it's a deep scar in Russian culture. This is like the biggest challenge, and we were betrayed.
It's fucking nuts.
We fucking came to the international scene and won the war by numbers, by blood and sweat, and a lot of patriotism.
The soldiers.
Oh,
Yeah, that's just soldiers, right? Oh my god, it's crazy.
yeah, that's crazy.
8.7 million is the official tally by the Russian military, a hotly disputed number. Some studies have calculated as many as 14 million dead.
Look at that. That's
To
a
completely
lot of
count
blood.
European military deaths. We need
That's
to add
whole
German deaths from other
generations,
fronts,
yo.
including the North and Africa, as well as deaths from other Axis
Restored.
powers allied with the Nazis: Hungary, Romania, and Italy. When you put these
Russia
European
also,
military deaths on the timeline,
had a fought with the Japan at the
you can
same
now
time
interact with
around
the
that.
chart to learn more. Pause the narration if you'd like more time.
Wow, that's crazy. I can't hear you, man.
And now we switch to civilian deaths.
Wow, hold on, the video's not over.
Six million Jewish people were killed in the Holocaust.
Wow,
Separate
6
this by
million.
country.
That's a
You see that
lot.
about half, 2.7 million, were Polish. 700,000 were Soviets, followed by Hungary and 17 other countries. Broken down another way, about half of the 6 million were killed in the concentration camps.
Yeah, Stalin also
Over a
had.
million died in Auschwitz. Most were killed in the gas chambers. Others died from starvation, exhaustion, disease, and other forms of execution. The second
Why
most
he never
devastating
writes the
Helen
number, the
was
actual number
exclusively
too?
an extermination camp, set up to look like a train station.
It's difficult to compare
Global
numbers.
killing groups killed 1.4 million Jews. Like with the gas chambers, men were killed first to reduce the risk of revolt.
Genocide. Inside your own country. That happens in many countries, a genocide.
The Holocaust also includes non-Jewish deaths. Between 130,000 to 500,000 Roma, then called Gypsies, were killed. The numbers are disputed. About 250,000 people with disabilities were killed. Homosexuals, Catholics, and other groups were also exterminated, but their numbers are relatively small. Some historians say that other civilian deaths should go under the label of Holocaust. About 2 million non-Jewish Poles were killed under German occupation, some of which were sent to the gas chambers at Auschwitz. When you combine civilian and military deaths, over 16% of the total Polish population died in World War II, which is the highest percentage of any country.
16% of
But
the
not the highest in
country.
total death count. The Soviet Union again tops that list, losing at least as many civilians as it did soldiers, somewhere between 10 and 20 million.
Oh
A
my
particularly dark
god,
moment for
what
Soviet
the
Union
fuck?
was the siege of Leningrad. Now
Yep.
St. Petersburg.
Welcome to the
German
other
forces
side of the
surrounded
mirror.
Leningrad before civilians could be evacuated. Supplies, including food, were cut off for 2.5 years. 1.5 million people died as a result, mostly from starvation, mostly civilians.
Yeah, people in Leningrad were sieged, and it was like for
Stalin's
3
cruelty
days,
to
for
those people is partly
three, I don't know,
responsible for
years or something. They
He
were
often didn't allow
starving there,
civilians to evacuate
occupied
the
in the city.
thinking it would cause the
They,
soldiers,
there was
particularly
like
to fight
cannibalism and all told
About
those
1 million
terrors.
Soviets died in Stalin's
of
only
war.
camps called Sigula.
Yeah, camps inside Russia, in Siberia.
Especially countries who were invaded. While many
Fuck
died as a
that
result
country.
of so-called collateral damage, the biggest numbers occurred when there was no accident. Civilians were exterminated, purposely fired upon with bombs, used as human shields, or intentionally deprived of food. The intentional killing of civilians was done by most warring parties, including the United Kingdom and the United States. The United Kingdom was spared of a land invasion, but still lost 60,000 civilians, largely from German air raids or blitzes, often directed at civilian population centers.
Right?
The UK did the same to German cities at a much greater magnitude, causing about 10 times the number of deaths. But most German civilian deaths came from the ground at the late stage of the war. When the Nazi regime collapsed, civilians living in occupied regions had to desperately flee from the advancing Soviet army. Rapes widespread, and death estimates range from 600,000 to 3 million.
Wow, it's crazy. Imagine how those women had to live at that time for years.
Counted
The
about
stress.
20 million civilian deaths in Europe. If you add this to the European military deaths we already covered, it brings us to over 40 million.
Wow.
Then we have the Asian deaths. Here we see the vast majority of military deaths in Asia, coming from China and Japan. On the civilian side, about 6 million deaths from China, Indonesia, Korea, Indochina, and the Philippines can be attributed to Japanese war crimes, which are sometimes compared to the Nazi atrocities due to the sheer scale of the cruelty. China had the second highest death count after the Soviet Union. And like the Soviets, the Chinese government demonstrated a stunning willingness to sacrifice its own people.
Yeah,
Chinese
communists.
nationalists opened the dike at the
Again.
Pearl River, hoping the flood would halt the Japanese advance. 500,000
protect their
Chinese
land.
civilians or more were killed,
look at that.
which is 2 or 3
Japan
times the
came
numbers who died in all.
and conquered
In the
a
2000
lot
Asian
of Chinese territories for years. In
But the invasion of
Korea,
China only cost
oh my
Japan
god, it's like it was a
200,000
lot of
civilians.
occupation there. It's
Most
a
were killed fighting
terrible
the US and Allies in the
lifestyle.
Pacific War.
Japanese are
significant portion
very
of Japanese
violent
civilian deaths
with this, with
caused
that,
by American
this
firebombing
war.
and 2 nuclear attacks. Contrary to official U.S. statements, these airstrikes were directed at civilian populations, not
Well, this is fucked up.
When you add all
They
the
just
deaths
bombed the
outside
cities.
it brings us to a grand total of 70 million for the war, give or take depending on who's counting and what civilian deaths get included.
Yeah.
So how
More
many
people
people?
died in World War II than in any other war in history.
That's sad.
For comparison, here are 20 or so of the very worst wars and atrocities we have on record.
We need to just.
Some of these are more of atrocities than wars, but we've seen how that distinction can get blurred. Some of these spanned across centuries.
Yeah.
World War II had the highest body count, and it all happened in just 6 years.
Wow.
The world's population has grown significantly since the earliest atrocities on this list.
God damn it, we humans ain't
If
shit,
you want to
y'all.
compare them in terms of what percentage of the world died, we can adjust the chart to look like this.
The
This
one
rough
is Genghis
approximation
Khan.
tells us there may have been more devastating wars before World War II, proportionally speaking.
Yeah, the history is a long series of different wars. There was like a Russian Caucasian war. That's why I don't like when people call me Russian, because I come from mountains, from
When we turn
the
to
regions
post-war
that had also another
It's
war
hard to
with
say
Russian
anything
and
that isn't
Tsarism.
But the data shows something quite extraordinary has been happening. In 1989, John Gaddis coined the phrase the long peace to identify the absence of conflict between the nuclear powers during the Cold War. 25 years later, the Cold War is over, and the term is still being used, although its meaning may have shifted. European countries have not fought each other, except for this 10-day war in 1956 when the Soviet Union invaded Hungary. When we look at
Kosovo?
European wars before World War II, it looks like this. They tend to be more frequent as we go back, though smaller in scale. And the largest 44 economies of the world have not battled each other since World War II.
Look at
Rich
this.
countries have fought poor countries, like the US versus Iraq. But rich countries have not fought other rich countries. Such a period of peace between the so-called great powers hasn't been seen since the Roman Empire.
Because they were feeding on poor
Many,
countries.
peace is too strong of a word.
Yeah.
Wars have occurred since World War II, and they can
Well,
be grouped
in
into
general,
this
it's
four
great.
categories.
It's
We don't
it's
see
the
colonial
safest
wars
time.
anymore. We've already noted that interstate wars between rich countries have not occurred at all, and here we see wars involving smaller economies have tapered off. That leaves civil wars of two types, with and without foreign intervention. And this is what these battle deaths look like alongside of World War II. More people died fighting in World War II than in all the wars since.
God
And
damn.
again, we can't forget about world population, which has almost tripled since World War II. If we scale these numbers to show deaths in proportion to world population, showing the likelihood that a person on Earth dies in battle, the downward trend becomes even more pronounced. Now, this isn't to infer anything about why this trend is occurring. That's a discussion for another day.
Yeah, I
We
think
can
we're
now
developing.
Psychedelics
charts
out of
to support
Yeah.
what are behind it.
Yeah,
Bear in
makes
mind, we're
sense.
just looking at battle deaths, not civilian.
Yeah, exactly.
Those two are
Psychedelics. Cool, right?
Peace is a difficult thing to measure.
Hold on,
It's
it
okay
has
to
2
count the
minutes.
people who didn't die.
God damn it, that's a
and wars
great
that
video.
never happened. We give such importance to the word peace, but we don't tend to notice it when it occurs, or report on it. Sometimes it takes reminding ourselves of how terrible war once was to see the peace that has been growing around us. Of course, this trend may not continue, and it's not clear how looking at these charts can help us make the right decision.
Yeah, that's about time when it started going downward with this corona and fires in Australia and invasions of aliens and, bombing. And I'm like, what the hell? That was a
So
crazy
watching the
year.
news doesn't make us feel
2020 and
hopeful about where this is
2019.
headed. Watching the numbers might.
Yeah.
I think that's Paul. I think I can't hear him. Yeah, okay. Thanks, Neil Hologram. That was an amazing video.
Things are getting better. Things are getting better. Perhaps due to nuclear weapons, I don't know, but they're certainly getting better. Yeah, of course, the greatest murderer of all time wasn't Hitler, it wasn't Stalin, it wasn't Pol Pot, it was Mao Zedong in China. I think he's credited with 50 million. Well, credited, but he was a 50 million. I think you can Google that. How many people in Mao Zedong is a dong?
Mao Zedong.
It was pretty amazing that
In the Great Leap Forward.
Stalin on this graph would attribute to Mao at 40 million, and
40
Stalin
million.
20 million, and if you
Yeah,
combine
yeah.
both of them, just those two communist regimes killed as much or more people than has died in World War II, at least on the youth side.
Yeah, and imagine living in a country
They
that
killed
won the
millions of
war.
people, yeah, I mean, Mao Zedong and the Great Leap Forward through starvation.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
He did
inside
that.
Russia, there were like such terrible stories from families.
Right.
It happened just like one generation ago. Basically, these are our grandfathers and grand grandfathers,
Right.
and they basically won the war. They returned from like as victory people, but in their own territory. Stalin actually started using these camps in Siberia and sending people and like shutting up people and like changing the lifestyle a lot. And there was a lot of violence inside the country, so it was like a betrayal, like a clear betrayal, where you are shocked at how do I say, like a dirty that approach is, how inhumane those actions are to bring back those winners, like victorious people,
Yeah.
and then ruin their
That's
families by sending them to
It's
Siberia
actually worse
to
than
die.
that. I found out recently that Stalin, before World War II, killed most of the Russian officers because he was paranoid about them.
I don't know the history,
could be
man.
Why Hitler, that could be why Hitler invaded.
I'm actually-
a bit earlier. Yep.
I'm actually predicting there's going to be a big spike coming very, very, very soon in deaths because
Yeah, I have that terrible feeling sometimes too.
we're incapable of looking back and seeing the mistakes that came before us. And I mean, even if you just look in the United States, if you go onto the average college campus, just the average public collegiate university,
They
they've
don't
now
remember Kent
indoctrinated. They've
University.
indoctrinated probably more than half of the student body who literally believe that we should abolish the First Amendment. Right? Most of them are they don't believe people have the right to have guns or firearms, and like they believe in they're being indoctrinated with communism. Like when you like literally, I talk to people on college campuses. They'll literally tell you they'll deny.
What?
They will deny
Well,
that Mao killed anybody. They'll say, "Oh no, it wasn't that bad under Mao. These
Or
numbers are
Stalin.
inflated," and they'll apologize for it.
Really? That's ridiculous. We grew out of that years ago in the United Kingdom. Yeah, I'm afraid those aren't the facts.
Yeah, the world is not a very nice place if you are born in a very unsafe territory where you have like less than 40-60 years of peace, for example, and there's a constant change, and like new generations are being born and the societies change. That what really fascinates me, that manifestation, that actual picture of a society in as every certain year, for example. If we had a very clear picture of what's going on in the world in other spheres, like emotional health and psychological health, traumatized, because I know that mind is over matter. Our mind really has some crazy events that prove that mind is over matter. I believe in that because thoughts are like powerful, and not because they're like influencing some esoteric dimension. Even so, that's going to be even better, but it just shapes the way we think. If your grandmother tells you that Americans are douchebags because they always invade other countries and like they basically betrayed us in the war, like because they culturally were more powerful, they had more luxury of creating Hollywood and influencing the whole world. And it's sometimes insulting how you see like the American films that mock those victims in the World War II. They never mention Russia in their country. Yeah.
In a war film, my friend who's in the British Army says it's always Americans that in the
Yeah.
But
They manipulated the
were great
opinion.
help. There's no doubt about that.
Well, yeah, that's a certain trauma there for the whole country. That's a lot of people. 150 million people in Russia. That's the average population. And there are a lot of young people. I see my generation. I started looking around and I see and talk to people. Everybody flees the country because it's a terrible place to live, because it has a very heavy negative background, like almost radioactive background of psychological traumas and dark.
Chernobyl.
Yes, as I told you, there are many events that actually deplete the country of its resources. People like those people who are smart, they either die all the time in wars or flee the country, or being exiled from the country, and then the population that's left is breeding, and that's not a good quality of
We lost her.
Did we just lose her? I think I broke it.
Can you hear me?
I think I did that. I hear you now.
1 2 1 2.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, we hear you, Ozzy.
Yeah.
That's fine. That's fine. I lost my train of thoughts. I see a hand raised. Maybe somebody's gonna join me in my conversation a monologue, basically. Graham, would you like to join the conversation? Or Komitsu? Komitsu comes from Czechoslovakia, so I think it's a certainly very curious perspective from unheard stories, of 40 years of silence, because many countries, they just don't have access to all this truthful information. And so that's painful when you're lonely and nobody supports you anymore. So yeah, it's just very emotional what's going on in the country to me, because I'm a woman. I always feel this energetic field of the place where I live. When I go outside, I can actually feel the atmosphere of the city, of a company. Like if there are 10 people, I feel their emotions. I feel their level of happiness or unhappiness. And I have to tell you, that level is disturbing in Russia right now. In my life, definitely it is disturbing, because I don't feel safe in my country. I see that life is kind of getting better on an everyday scale. Like there are new parks, new cities, new repairs, like renovations, and the cities become more beautiful, and like there's more development in technology and business and jobs. But the economy is just like suffering a lot, because it has these heavy sanctions, and the Russian ruble is falling in the world. So it's everything that costs the same to you costs 2.5 times more for me now. If I want to go and visit my sister in America, it's gonna cost 2.5 times more than it was in 2014. Because the Russian ruble was $1 was 30 Russian rubles. So that's a lot, but still, that's a exchange rate, that's history. And then you have this annex, Crimea annex, and the actual population of the country starts paying 75. Today, the actual course of dollars, 75 rubles. That's a lot of that's a lot of change from 10.
Says 1 ruble is 77.
Yeah, so it grows every day. It means that Russia is like it's in a swamp. It's going down. It's like the economy is just like.
Is that why Putin wants to start a war?
Probably. I have this feeling that he's either right and he's trying to protect his beloved country, and everybody else are aggressors, because we're surrounded by countries and stuff.
No NATO country going to attack Russia.
I have no idea.
They're not. They will not start a war. Anyway, of course, NATO.
Yeah, but we sanctioned them.
Was there to NATO was there to combat Soviet Union. There is no Soviet Union anymore.
Mm-hmm.
No, I don't know.
But NATO still, they're there.
NATO country. Yeah, they're still there.
Yeah, what about everything around us? Look at Belarus, look at Kazakhstan. Do you hear some news from those countries? These are very fresh news. It's going on right now. 2008 was the Abkhazia, when the South Ossetia. I live in North Ossetia, so the second part of the ethnic group that was situated in Georgia actually were annexed within wars. People had to shoot, and I know actually those people who were at that war, and there was a war in Ossetia in 1992. These are very fresh memories. And my husband is like 34 years old, and he actually is a victim of terrorist attack in Vladikavkaz, the city where we live. Actually, he was 18 at that time. So if he was 18, that was 2016, 2006? Yeah, 2006. So that was a year when there were like actual explosions in your city that killed people, like at markets and terrorist attacks. And he actually wasn't heavily injured. And thank God he actually survived that. So I was very lucky enough to meet him. But that's just memory. Mm-hmm. That influences the way you think.
Is it?
Yeah, sure.
Paul.
Is it true that there's a lot of oil in the Caucasus?
It is. Chechnya actually has the heaviest, I think, oil production. Kabardino-Balkaria also used to have that because it's a mountain region. It's like a rich region for different resources. Actually, Hitler's. Yeah.
They're exporting it, the oil and gas, or gas, I think, through the Nord Stream pipeline.
Yes. Using Turkey as well.
If that income flow is cut off, that's going to be a problem.
Oh, Kazakhstan, for example.
Not just you, but us.
Did you know that actually the big fall in cryptocurrency that happened recently? So Bitcoin was $58,000 and now it's $32,000 or something. That's a huge fall of all cryptocurrencies. Why it happened? Because Kazakhstan, the country that is very close to us, it's like a post-Soviet territory. They had they had a revolution. They had a war inside their country, and because there was
my cousin
and very quick war.
My cousin works for an oil company in Baku. Is that?
No, Baku is Azerbaijan. Yeah, that's Azerbaijan.
Yeah. He's in Azerbaijan at the moment. He works for an oil company in Azerbaijan.
Yeah, and Azerbaijan actually attacked Armenia very recently. Don't you know about those things? A whole bunch of shit starts going on in countries close to Russian borders, all around the borders. And there's some secret shit that's going on, and I'm not sure if the international community is aware of it at the deserved scale. Because there's a large violation of rights in Belarus, in Georgia, in Ossetia, in different areas around Russian borders from all sides. It does see secret attack. So you finance people who are in poor countries because of post-Soviet Union. You've seen the numbers. It was very difficult to restore the economy. It was difficult to restore the population. We still have a negative, tendency in the population. We have the population of Russia is not growing. There's a lot of space for growth, but people don't want to be born. They leave the country either, or it's not growing, even though the government is trying to stimulate that.
It's true for all the civilized countries. Population decline.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but something crazy is going on in other countries. They have a very rapid growth in population, and Nigeria has an average of 5 children per woman per her lifetime. So that's a fertility rate of Nigeria. And then there are a lot of countries like India and China. They have vast populations. And in China, they have the population in check for a long time, but they have some problems because do you remember that the prohibition that China had, that you can have only one child in a family? Yes, yes, of course. And imagine if somebody asked you can have only one chance. Who are you going to choose, a girl or a boy? Every Chinese man would say, well, a boy, of course. A girl is, it's trash. We can have only one kid, so it's gonna be a boy. And it happened naturally, and years after, there was a big crisis in China. It's going on now because they didn't have enough women in the country. Voila, if you want to have more people, you should remember that you should have also more people who can create people. Women in the country. And so, there's a large problem there. So that's why they changed this politics, and now the picture of China is very different. How do you encourage people to give birth to girls? Only if you can satisfy the need for girls, or maybe to raise the awareness of like importance of the repopulation, whatever. I don't know. That's just curious how the cultures change. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, in the third world, but look at the world. All countries are infected with this. A large discrimination towards women and towards because we live for such a long, peaceful period of time, we are grown enough as a civilization to actually start, stepping beyond obvious stupid things, like those, 10 commandments. What kind of people are you that somebody has to dictate to you that you shouldn't kill other people, you shouldn't, cheat on your partner if you chose them, or you shouldn't, steal some stuff from other people? We live in a very civilized, educated society. It's like unprecedented. We started, developing very, very quickly, like stereoscopically, basically. So I think other things should be considered today, and it's very interesting how our future can be if our brutal part of our civilization, dies, and we give rise to those other energies that we have, other potentials. What if we allowed women to be in control of the world? Or not even women, but those people who want to have a sustainable future. It doesn't matter. It just means that I have this feeling that women have that, in natural born instinct on how to be happier, how to create a better sustainable world, but they don't have enough power to, manifest themselves from a young age. And that's patriarchal, maybe, yeah. I'm going feminist here, heavily, I think. Somebody should stop me.
I'll keep going.
Yeah, well... Yeah, if you're a woman... Yeah. So I think it's gonna be amazing if we give more, I think we are at the doorstep of one important leap into the future, because we have to make choices today while we still can. So I think that we should really think as a humankind about the future of the planet, of what is going on with this metaverse and with this ecological troubles and space ventures. We see that there are two different ways and directions of living. Either going back to wars and destroying each other and many people's lives and traumatizing the whole body of a human race. I think we are one race. We are like a collective, we are a collective creature, because we have the internet, because we have virtual reality where I can stand in a room and see 10, 15 people from all over the world, where I see that amazing globe that has geography very clearly. But look at that geography. Again, this is not available for people. It's only America, England, and civilized countries. It's a luxury.
Right.
So, but we still, I think it's like an indicator. People who get into these worlds now, they have very advanced thinking, very developed human personality. And I think that we should gather more and start those, new ideas and new pushes towards our sustainable future. Like creating amazing projects. I try to, there's one guy who was in my events as well, like Pavel Sovushkin. So we work in the same company with UX, UI design, and that's really amazing. We create a project that we're going to apply for cons for artificial intelligence. I mean not intelligence, but AR glasses. That's really cool to be able to create things that are going to shape the future. Look at those video games. Actually, the other day, my husband bought me, as a present, he bought me a video game that was on sale. And he's like, oh, that's a good bargain. Maybe I should want to give you this game. And I'm like, I don't play games. I never play games. I don't have time for this bullshit. And he actually bought a game, and it's really amazing. It's a game about a couple who are going to cooperate, although they hate each other, but they are forced to cooperate before they were at the verge of the divorce. And you go through the gameplay actually to actually help these two people to pass therapy and go back to their fixing their marriage or something like that. That's a pretty cool piece of culture for me today. I've seen like many stories, like books. It's amazing how I listen to authors of books who write right now, and I enjoy so much their vision of the future, how open-minded they are, and I am amazed at films and stories that are never seen in, in many lives. Like Japanese culture has a very rich history of like cool ideas.
You help keep water out of your pack.
Oh, okay. Mendes, it's your home.
Oh, sorry.
We see we have a little sneak peek into Mendes' lives. He's a father of three. Was it 3 children?
3, 6.
6
plus stepkids. Yeah.
Oh my God, you are crazy. Of course you want to get rich. How am I supposed to, raise my children? Yeah, it's gonna be a difficult world if we have a war, no? Or at least you have an army of your own. Anyway, so yeah, I think the world is very at the, we have this choice, like at the intersection of different, branches of possible events, and I think we should make a choice. I have this feeling that each of us is making a choice today, because there are a lot of magical things that are going on in the world today. Like people start seeing each other, people start understanding each other, and seeing a lot of people. They had a chance, because of the internet, they had a chance to accumulate larger amounts of people, of valuable people in their lives. Because in generations, maybe, in other civilizations, they didn't have this connection. That's why they didn't have so much experiences that were unprecedented in our history. That for me, it's like my precious dream is to have as many close people all over the world, so I can know them. I can actually know what they think, what they feel. I feel for them. I actually like true friendship or true connection with a person. This is a very rare type of connection. You can have it like maybe 5 times in a real, world speed.
In your life, yeah.
Yeah, but today, because of VR, I think I can easily name 20 or 25 people on VR that I think that are super valuable people to me, that I would love to spend my lives traveling and seeing them and talking to them, enjoying just their presence and being happy beside them. I love Mendes, I love Paul, I love Cornelius. These are like my family, I think.
Love all you guys.
Yeah, Ultra Funky. And my precious custom Kama Sutra man. That joke. Keep it close to my heart, but I never say that not to embarrass you, Mr. Kama Sutra. we had a funny event where one that was actually Son Justin. I love that guy too. He actually came to the event, and he kind of was so excited to answer the point that he looked at Kumitsu's name, and he's Kumitsu, but he probably read it differently, and he said, Mr. Kamasutra, and he just continued explaining things. So at the whole event, he was calling him Mr. Kamasutra. Kamasutra or something like that. So yeah, that's funny.
Maybe I should rename myself. There's a nice ring to it.
That's gonna be a lot of misunderstanding. I love when people have that.
Maybe I would get banned.
Yeah. I like when people have those contrasts in them, like when they have multiple personalities. Because I have multiple personalities. I'll be honest with you. I have a feeling that I have at least 16 different modes of reality that I can dwell at. So that's really cool when you have many personalities and you discover many things at the same time, and you can read a book, and then you can be a nail master, and you can, do yoga and then drink something and just enjoy life and have so many different fresh moments of life and happiness. I think that's what we should teach at schools, how to be happy. Paul is in pain. Is it your COVID? Do you need help? No? Okay. Write me after you're better, okay? I'm gonna message you after the event at midnight to check if you're okay. Anyway, yeah, thanks for coming. I really appreciate that. A lot of cool information. I love listening to Paul. I think he never had a time to a chance to shine. Maybe we should do a whole event
we can
for
shine
him.
here anytime. We should do a fall day, right?
Yeah.
Fall laugh day.
That would be amazing.
So we did talk about the physical boundaries. Are we going to talk about personal boundaries?
Yeah, I would like to talk about personal boundaries and about psychology. Since there are more ladies in the room, that's going to be more, rich and saturated discussion, I think. Let me put the background video back. Go ahead, guys. Does anybody want to share how are you guys today? Just let's totally change the wavelength of our event, and let's move to some, sensual part, some interesting part of fathoming yourself and being, creating the world that is better than the past. So
I was reading this thing it's talking about different types of boundaries that you can create for yourself. Because setting boundaries isn't something you do for others, you do it for yourself first. And then there's like boundaries on times. There are the physical boundaries, conversational boundaries, personal boundaries, relationship boundaries,
space boundaries. When I walk down the street, it's important to me, those 20-30 centimeters of free space. That's valuable.
Yeah.
At least 30.
So I had a
Go ahead.
So it was talking about how boundaries are usually reflections of our value. So I was just wondering, what are some of your guys' values, and how do you set boundaries to uplift those values? Maybe share some of your tactics.
Oh, hey, St. Justin. Was it St. Justin? I couldn't see his name. I can start sharing. I can be first if you want. If you want to be first, please raise your hand and I'm going to be glad to give you a microphone. But to me, boundaries, I think it's, as you said, like having values, right? What was your question once again? You kind of beautifully framed that question today. I was like, oh, that was great. Good job, man.
So the idea is that boundaries often reflect our own personal values.
Yeah.
So just wondering, what are some of your most important values, and how do you set boundaries to uplift those?
So I think my personal boundaries are not very large. I think that I should be happy in this damn world. That's number one goal in my life. And then number two goal in my life is, my dream is to be happy in marriage. I've always dreamt to find my, loved one, that, legendary, imaginative person that you have in your head since you're born. Yeah, that soulmate. And that was my dream, to find my soulmate. And I think I have succeeded. I'm not making, conclusions so far. It's 4 years. I plan 40 years at least, and hopefully 70 years of marriage. So I'm not, this is just like today's status. Yeah.
Question. Has there been any boundaries that you've had to set with your husband?
I think that naturally happens when you start the relationships. That's too late. When you are in relationships, it's almost too late, because when you find a partner in life, if it's your truly soulmate, you make that decision without having enough information. It's just intuition. It's something that is impossible to explain. You can understand it and integrate it in your life only after it happens. And that happens it's like a very large bonus in your life when you become happy for something. And where you have like a lifetime goal of fathoming another person, just, becoming better every day at loving someone and creating some amazing things, and being praised and being recognized in the world, being surrounded by loving people, by friends. I think that's a very valuable goal. If you ask me, if I had one chance to live, I would solely exercise and dedicate my life to being happy with people who surround me. I think that's the most valuable dream in my life. But it's hard
Oh, yeah.
sometimes because of the world and the situation. When you live among those people who are deeply unhappy and you don't feel fulfilled and self-sufficient because the country is not, it's poor.
It's like you're getting infected with it or something, right?
I don't know. It's just like a
Misery
very
loves
negative,
company.
a very negative thinking mentality of people. That's what bothers me.
Ultra Funky has his hand up. Go ahead, Ultra
that's great.
Funky.
And Komitsu too.
Hi,
Hello.
everybody.
Glad to see you, man.
Hi.
Oh, that's
Thank
great. So
you.
many
Everybody
faces
that's here.
come back.
Nice seeing you too. Yeah.
Yay! Yeah, a lot of people. Oh, I love you
Started off
guys.
good.
Hmm?
Yeah, the thing that when I was listening to you two, when you said this about boundaries, then I myself, the first thing that flew up in my mind is like putting boundaries
Mhm.
on things and people or that kind of stuff, and I was thinking, that sounds really bad, and I was thinking like, do they really need boundaries? And then I started to go this way, that boundaries, if I put boundaries on myself, I would say like the boundaries on myself is I think to know myself, the capacity I have, because everything goes out from myself, but the possibilities I have or what I can do,
Yeah.
how good I am. So if I know my boundaries in certain things, I know with what I can be better at, what I can do, what I can help with, what I cannot help with. And I would have that, what you said, Mendes, the richer life. That's what I would say, like when I hear you talk about the boundaries. Maybe I misunderstand this, but for me,
No, I love your
putting
input.
down boundaries I understand the thing, but actually, are you not putting down the boundaries for yourself or knowing your boundaries? That's more the thing I'm going to think, because the other one, otherwise, I don't really understand the question from my perspective. But that's only.
We just have an interesting conversation here. We don't have, right or wrong understanding. It's just sharing whatever comes to your mind. And I really enjoy the fact that you always bring some fresh air into this room and fresh, very alternative experience and opinion from me. That I see that as very valuable. Because only once you say some things, I'm like, what? I'm like, I didn't even have this scenario in my mind. That's so amazing that I have somebody who supplies me that information about the world. And I trust this person because he's really cool and, smart. And I know a little bit more about Ultra Funky that makes me feel that we are on the same wavelength of understanding the world. And St. Justin and like many people in this room, I see you guys as some valuable contact in my life because I really enjoy listening to you as other, personalities manifesting into their ideas and saying them verbally. And
it's really
my voice
neat too
too.
that he brought it. That's another way of looking at boundaries, because we spoke about the actual boundaries like of states and countries. Then we were just talking about personal like relationship boundaries. And that boundaries is like your capabilities. So what is your limits on your capabilities too? So thanks for adding that, Ultra. Appreciate it.
Yeah, not only capabilities but also responsibilities. It's like how much you're going to be able to, to run. It's rather difficult to take responsibility today for many things, and it's life is hard, and there are a lot of boundaries, and we just learned that there are more opportunities that we actually allowed ourselves to see. We had those boundaries, and I'm thinking, I'm definitely, I'm speaking for myself right now. I just realized within recent, year 2 or 3 that I have been doing many things in my life because I couldn't, afford them. And I was limiting myself my whole life, my whole entire life. I was saving money, from day to day, as if I had, war becoming, war hopping. And it's because of my grandmother's and my mother's thinking that the world is not safe, and you should be, calm and, just give those people a rule and just be calm and patient. Patient, yes, I think that's the word. So, and that actually creates automatically the mindset that is kind of effective from one side, but on the other hand, it's very limiting. imagine being like blind, well, maybe having astigmatism, or like not blind, but also having eye problems, so you don't see part of the world. It's pretty much the same. It's like when you limit yourself to some areas and you never, put your head up, so you don't see the opportunities. Okay, so we have some more hand raises. I think I don't have anything to say. Kumitsu, Metatauni something, and Cornelius. You all three wanted to speak. Let me give a megaphone to Kumitsu. Do you remember what you wanted to say? I think it was just now, right?
I remember when you were talking about your marriage and how it was your goal.
Where are you, man?
It made me create this thought
Right next
that
to
maybe that's what we are missing as a society, as people, as humans, or as nations, maybe, right?
Humankind.
You have elections every once in so often, and you elect like who, and the who decides how, and in that same package is usually like what they want to achieve. But I think we should separate what from the package, and once every I don't know 10 years we should as a society, a nation, maybe a continent or even a planet decide what is our goal for the next 15 years. What do we want to aim for? Something you can measure, right? We want to get X number better. We want to have X percentage points less people on the streets. We want
starvation.
Then you elect who, right? And you who and how, and you evaluate them based on that, right? And if you don't I don't know, if you're American, you like how Republicans are, taking up. All know what we are aiming for.
Sorry, man, I couldn't hear for some time. It was glitching.
As an individual, it's. I'm sorry. It's my connection, I guess.
It's my connection problem.
Because I think of
I was trying to demonstrate the worldometer that we talk about a lot on the screen. There are numbers that are going on right now. So, as you said, what are our goals? I actually checked the part for social problems. There was a very beautiful map about. My computer is not. Yeah, hold on. So there was a very beautiful map of countries that showed many different factors and many different numbers. How many people will die of starvation today, and how many people have no access to water? Look at this.
I don't see that. Do you have it up now?
Hold on, maybe. I think I
don't see anything either.
Yeah.
I see a triangle. Maybe that's me.
Yeah. I have to do this. The broadcasting. There you go. Can you see it? I love to show this worldometer a lot because this is what's going on in the world. Looking at this page and looking at all that advertisement that's going on. And then there was social media, environment. Yes, environment is a huge problem.
Your Oculus? Alright. Let me know what you know. I don't cheat on games. Use the health one. I think the health one is what you want. Yeah, really.
Okay, so.
You have some children under 5 each year. Almost.
Somebody's speaking, but for some reason I think I don't understand it. Okay, hand raises. So Kumitsu, guys, I have to say that it's getting a little bit noisy. If you're speaking, if you don't speak, please mute yourself. Okay, Meta Townie, I have another hand raise. Hold on. Meta. Okay, undefined Lily something, right? I'm going to mute you because you have background noise. Yeah, got it. Okay. There you go. Okay, so hand raises again. So we had.
We're here talking about everything.
Okay. So Meta Downey. you have you have the megaphone. Would you speak?
Oh, yeah. Can you guys hear me?
Sure, great. Loud and clear. I was worried that you were gone. Excellent.
No.
Welcome to Theory of Everything.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here. One thing that I wanted to say about boundaries is, for me personally, especially as a person who has a career, who is a friend, daughter, wife, and mother, I think boundaries are good because it helps me continue to be the best positive person I can in all the roles that I play. So
Excellent.
if there are certain boundaries that I don't want people to cross, that can be unhealthy for me and that can be unhealthy for them.
Excuse me, Randy?
Having boundaries.
Yeah. Please, guys, mute yourself.
Having
I hear
boundaries.
Nice. Yeah. Please continue.
So for having to have boundaries helps me, come into these spaces and places and interact with people as my best self because I've established what works well for me in order to be my best self. So I think boundaries are great.
Yeah, that's great.
Thank you.
How would you define boundaries? Yeah, thanks for sharing. And it's a question for everybody. How would you define boundaries? So what is boundaries, basically, for you? Yeah, I think that's the question we should have started with. But yeah, it's a little trick. Okay, so Cornelius and Reddy, I see your hand raises. So let me give a microphone to Cornelius. There. Hello, my friend.
Hey, hello.
Hey, welcome.
How are you?
Glad to
guys?
see you. Good, good. I've been thinking about you today. I love your spaces. Actually, Cornelius creates amazing soundscapes. It's like a whole cool space where you can also hear music that is in different layers. I really recommend you to favorite his world. Yeah. Can you remind me what was the name of that world? Actually, I liked it, so I can share the name. Favorites.
Yeah.
What was it? Soundscape?
One is Laberinto.
Yeah, Laberinto. Yeah, so that's a very good recommendation. Laberinto, find that world, and that was amazing. Cool. It's like a maze you have to get out of. Cool.
Yeah, if you want your jaw to drop, just visit one of Cornelius' worlds.
Yeah.
Oh my God! Thank you.
We have 30 minutes to go, and after that we can actually portal to some places. So just so you know, guys, if you have some other places you would like to share or some stories to tell, after parties for that, okay. So Cornelius, back to you. So share what you thought about your ideas. Your thoughts.
So, in my opinion, psychoanalysis is kind of one of the best things that could happen to the human.
Yes, exactly. Psychonautics, psychedelic world experiences in the 60s.
No.
In my opinion.
Psychoanalysis,
Psychology.
Psychoanalysis.
Yeah. Like Sigmund Freud and Carl Jung. Yeah, right.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
So with my wife, we have been in therapy many times. We have 26 years together, so we have been with a therapist many times, like 4 or 5, and always it has been a bless. It's just amazing. And one thing that I can notice on all these years is that it's really important to talk with your partner about which boundaries they want, which boundaries you want. And one of the things that it's really interesting is that those boundaries change over time. It's really important not to keep boundaries that are just limiting the relationship, because you were other person like 20 years ago or 4 years ago, right? So that needs to evolve, and it's really difficult just to talk with each other sometimes. So have a third person that
asks questions.
That, and oh my goodness, it's just incredible. So
wow,
I
thanks.
don't think boundaries should be
set
forever.
Yeah.
I think they need to
Constant?
be revised.
Nice.
From time to time.
Very valuable input. Thanks for sharing that, Adia. That's really great, actually. Yeah. I'm a little bit skeptical, not skeptical about therapy, but I'm like old-fashioned, and I'm like, oh, what is this therapy? I have friends to talk about it. Why I don't need no therapist and stuff like.
I think
Yeah.
the problem is that there's a lot of psychologists that are really bad, right?
Yeah, exactly.
You
They're
need to know,
stupid.
right?
How am I supposed to listen to a person who's more stupid? I want to get answers. Get me that smart guy.
If you take the time to get, it's the same as lawyers or accountants.
Yeah,
right?
to find a good one.
You need to find the good ones.
Yeah, I'm still on my way. I'm still revising.
Yeah.
Yeah, so yeah, thanks for sharing. I think this is
Thank you very much.
yeah, I agree with you. This is really valuable when people are able to speak about something and build something for a long time. I think that's a life goal for me, to build like very long-term relationships. Just one relationship, one partnership till the end of my life. So I meet him and I'm happy, and when I'm at my deathbed, I'm still happy with him and I still enjoy his company. Okay, I had some hand raises, but I don't see anyone anymore. Okay, so if you want to share what you want to say, that's going to be great. For example, Sonia, I see a beautiful lady here.
I do have a question.
Sure, go ahead. There are a lot of people, so saying Justin, maybe I am glad to hear you. Maybe you want to share. So, Mendes.
So in the realm of boundaries,
Mhm.
and due to personal or healthy relationships, what are some boundaries, or what sort of boundaries do you think you'll see in a healthy relationship? That's the question.
Yeah, remember the
What-
question. It's an interesting one.
There's a lot that they change, right?
Uh-huh.
For example,
Uh-huh. Go ahead.
I started snoring some time ago, right? So my wife couldn't sleep, which is really a simple thing, right? So now we are sleeping in different bedrooms, and that's kind of a boundary, right? That you need to put.
Yeah.
And now we are really happy since we did that, and we visit each other and go to his room, or she goes to mine. So that kind of things is really difficult to talk if you don't have a really open communication with your partner, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we have a lot of conversations
Oh, yeah,
with
I
my
can
husband
imagine.
just before we go to bed. Like when we are in bed, and I enjoy feeling his body close to me, and like even if he's sleeping, I know that I can protect him, and I can, I feel that he's around me.
Yeah.
So to me, it's still important, and I think this is the valuable step in your life when you still have that you have a person around you care for, and you're worried for, and you love them. So that's really valuable to have a loved one, and many loved ones, hopefully, friends and family and all those amazing people around. Okay, Ultra Funky, for some reason your hand raises was like very quick and it was gone, but I've seen it. Here's your megaphone. What do you think?
It was interesting is combination here with being married and boundaries, and it's Cornelius and it's you, Azzy, and the thing I really have a hard thing with this subject, understanding it. I don't know why, but the thing I was saying like this: if you have boundaries, Cornelius, I was thinking like, as a person, you said people can change, so you have to change your boundaries. That's one thing, and that tells me a thing like this: if you put a boundary on someone, will you ever get to know this person? Because if you say, no, I don't like this, and this person is the way they are, and they need to go over that boundary because that's their personality, maybe they're going to start misbehaving or have other problems having a relationship with you because they're not allowed to have some possibility to move around, not around the boundaries, but in the boundaries with some help, pushing you, get you to different because you can only change yourself. That's the thing, and this I said to my husband, sharing the bed, that you the most you talk is before you go to bed, so you have the possibility to communicate. But I forgot what I wanted to tell you. But the thing with Cornelius, the thing I have a hard thing is that I think the boundaries make you lose out on things. That's my main point.
Like what?
If we say that we're not allowed. if I'm in a relationship, the person needs to be the person they are. If I cannot say that, I can say I dislike you putting your feet on the coffee table when you watch TV.
Yeah,
And
like
I
those
put a
things.
boundary on that, you know. Yeah, maybe
Mhm.
I'm just taking. I now take from here. I don't know where I'm going with this, but I'm saying like this
I
is
was
the boundary. But in the end, it's maybe something for that person, so they will relieve some stress on their back, and means if they can sit like that, they can play more with the children, or they can have more fun with me out doing something, you know. One thing gives another thing, and
Why
you
it's really,
also
really
you,
important.
you,
So,
you
sorry.
don't know the reason, and you don't know where you're going, like Cornelius said. Change over time, but I don't think that the first thing is boundaries. You really need to understand it and change it. Cornelius is correct, but you know, I cannot
That's why
understand the
I'm
boundary
saying that
stuff.
it's really important to have an open communication, right?
Speaking
That you
words.
can tell exactly what you said with example what that you said. Like if for me putting the my feet on the table, it's important because of my back pain or something. It's important for me to tell my wife, right? And if my wife doesn't like that, we can talk about that. Instead of putting that, maybe I can buy a chair and put it there. But if you don't talk, if you don't have that kind of
Communication.
communication,
So do
it's
we really
terrible,
have?
right?
So do we really have to have the boundaries? That's the thing I don't understand. Do we need the boundaries, or do we not need the boundaries?
We need
I
balance.
That's
think
the thing,
boundaries
because I would
are
technically
based
say
on
take away the
that,
boundaries. Talk
I
about it.
think I think there's healthy boundaries and unhealthy boundaries, and I think everything starts on the self-esteem, right? If your self-esteem is good, like I mean, your ego is balanced, like you do things for you and things for others. Yeah, of course there are boundaries. For example, when my wife is studying, I I should let her, right? I should not go into her room and try to take her away from his studies because she's studying. That's not a really healthy boundary, right? There are other kinds that I agree with you that are that they don't doesn't have to be there,
Yes.
right? There are many boundaries in a day, right? For kids, or like between your kids, you as a
Mm-hmm.
parent, everything.
right.
But the communication perhaps is the most important thing in the boundaries, in
think
the concept
I
of
think
boundaries.
Ryan wanted to add something. Let me give you a megaphone, Ryan. You should have it.
Hi everybody.
Hey, welcome to the area of everything. How are you?
Thank you. Thank you.
Oh, there you go. Hey, Ryan.
Well, if I can say the boundary is a big topic. Really,
Mhm.
it's a big topic, and um,
Any topic
I
is
think
big
what
when you have a good
ultra
company.
funky. Yeah,
Place.
true, can be huge. So there is a difference with boundaries and judgment. You know.
Mhm.
So when you make judgment on people, you just block them. You see
Mhm.
what I mean? I mean, you are judging someone, you don't take the time to know them. So these judgments are bad. But boundaries, I think it's kind of different. We are born with boundaries. I mean, if we observe the nature, uh, the animals, and everything around, uh,
Mhm.
they all have boundaries, you see?
Yeah.
It's something, I mean, uh, very natural and I will say healthy.
Mhm. Mhm.
But this is for me when we add judgment and as you were saying, lack of communication. This is where we transform a healthy boundary into borders, like countries. So for me, yeah, judgment is more negative than boundaries.
Mhm.
I mean, that's my understanding.
Yeah. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thanks for sharing.
I don't know if I
Great.
was
Yeah.
clear or yeah.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks for sharing. I think the space is just for expressing yourself, at least to say what you think. And whatever other people hear, it's their own personal boundary and space. Thanks for sharing.
I try. English is not my native language.
Mine
so-
too. Trust me. I started these events to
Yeah.
practice it. Yeah, I'm from Russia, so I teach English, and it's my it's my profession. So I enjoy these events for many reasons. So yeah, Claire had her hand raised, and what you gonna say, Mendes?
Go ahead, Claire.
Yeah. Hold on. Let's check. Yeah, Mendes is gonna give you a megaphone. Sometimes we both try to give megaphone, so it works 2 times, and the person is just muted. Ends up muted.
Do I
Oh
have
my
it?
god. Yeah, that's
Yes, I have it.
it's like killing your
Okay.
child. Like,
I have a interesting boundary going on right now.
Mhm.
As a female first,
Mhm.
I think men don't always realize the boundaries women have had to set from the day we're walking and, aware and being told the truth of what goes on in the world. I was raised with a father who said, as you're approaching your car in a parking lot, look underneath it, in the back seat before you get in it. Things that you may not ever have to think about. And some people call that paranoid. And it's not. It's setting a boundary so I can feel safe.
Mhm.
But away from that subject, I just wanted to touch on that. I have my husband has been diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic cancer.
Wow, I'm sorry.
And
What's up?
we were,
Sorry
thank
for
you. We were told there's no going back from that. There's only, what happens forward. And 4 to 6 months is what they, guesstimate. They don't know. But there's a boundary right there because if I all of a sudden, like people on the page that I'm on, my daughter wanted me to be on, that has people that are caregivers and people that are patients with the same exact cancer. They'll say, spend as much time as you can with them, blah, blah, blah. If I sat out there right now and sat at his elbow, every minute he would really start getting nervous. Like, wow, this must be way worse than I thought. Way sooner than I thought. So I set a boundary for us to kind of stay as normal right now as possible. And I plan to adjust as I go that boundary as need be. Right now he's going to go to a store and pick up his prescription on his own. I'm not going to hound him and say, I need to go with you, because I want him to enjoy his freedom as long as he can. And he's compartmentalized it very well and is totally acting himself, which is great. I'm the one I'm a very sensitive person. I'm really classified that way. I have anxiety, and so I often have fear, but I hold it back. It's like back here, held, kind of walled off, because I don't want to cry in front of him for him to think, well, did the doctor tell you something worse? Because this is his 3rd time battling EF leukemia. He beat that. He's been in remission for over about 15 years. So this has been a heavy blow. So I'm trying to do things a little different, not be emotional, be more, less selfish. I guess that would be the word, because my emotions are selfish to me, but they don't help him. So I try and hold them in and then let them out in the appropriate way and the appropriate space I have. But be the shower, drive in the car by myself or to a friend. But I have a fear for him. That's one of my emotions right now. I think it's similar to the stages one would go through even after death. I'm feeling some of them now because my stage is fear. Fear of what he will face. I'm afraid for him. Fear of what I will face. I'm afraid for that. And the fear of what will it be after. And those are all legitimate, but yet I have to put a boundary on them because they're not quite appropriate yet. It's a fear of the future, isn't it?
Right, yeah. Right.
And fear of losing your loved one or just significant people,
And
or
what it will be like after.
Yeah,
I have a
sorry, I
good
had
support
some background
system,
noise.
and my daughter is selling her house because she doesn't want me to be alone. That's her biggest fear. And I always say, honey, please buy a home that suits your family needs, not me. I'll be okay. Things work out in life. But she still, even her husband was like, originally she was saying, we can get a cottage or a tiny home in the backyard. And her husband said, why does she have to be in the backyard? Why can't she be in the house? Which is really nice
That's
that I have
amazing. Yeah, that's really nice.
really loving son-in-law who loves me that much that he would want me. I mean, their friends think they're crazy, but they feel that way about me. They know I wouldn't be in the middle of their business. I'd be doing my own thing, binoculars and whatnot, drawing and reading, and but I don't even know if I would live with them. But it's nice to know there's that safety net they're planning, and yet I can't share that with my husband. Like, oh, Kelly and Matthew are buying a house that will have a room for me. Because what does that tell him? So in a way, I'm walking this dual line, and I think that does add to my stress. And I just need to find that balance. I've only known for a week, a little over a week. So we're still, I guess, in the adjustment stage, I would say. Yeah, boundaries are definitely everywhere. And even end of life. Yeah.
Oh my God, thanks for sharing.
Sounds like your husband has a really good system.
Yeah, and his way of handling it really is compartmentalizing. He's watching the Olympics, and he's watching his little favorite shows. I came out and said, what's that song you like? And he loves music. His music, I mean. And so he'll pull up Billy Strain or one of the blues he likes or somebody like that, or the Averitt Brothers, or somebody he really loves, and he'll play it, and you can see him get so happy. And that brings me joy that it was no skin off my shoulder to listen to that song and let it bring him that joy. I mean, he'll even cry over music. He loves it so much. So anyways, that's all I had to say about that.
Wow, it's just love for life.
Oh, yeah.
Thanks for sharing.
Thanks for sharing that, Claire.
Thank you.
I love your couple. You both are very aware and developed people, I think, and souls. Ancient souls, as they say. Yeah.
That's the end goal. And all we can hope for is that we're at a good age when we get there, and that not only are we at a good age, that we've had a good death, and we don't get to pick it. And my husband will be 77 in June, so by any number, what do we want? I mean, I try and tell myself that if they live 4 more, like my parents died 84, 83. Okay, that's 5-ish more, 6 more years. What will that bring? Would he be sick during that time? I'm trying to wrap my mind around all of that and make it okay. You know what I mean?
Well, yeah.
Make it okay, if that makes sense. Not make it okay.
Make it work.
But
so you're thinking like, is he gonna live that 5 years of pain? Is he gonna be suffering?
Hey, bye, dear. Yeah. Quality, isn't it all about quality?
Quality,
not quantity.
Yes. Exactly.
And they did a scan on his head the other night for brain mets, and I had a bad dream last night that there was a tumor in his brain and they wanted to do surgery to remove it. So I woke up in a stressful, feeling. Thankful I've already been going to therapy for my anxiety. I have a therapist in place. I have my support group in place. So I don't need to cry in front of him right now. They did tell him, we had that conversation. There will be times I do break down in front of you. It'll be inevitable. He goes, I know. And then 2 days ago, I had to do a NDR and have him sign it. He didn't want to read it. He just signed it. My daughter facilitated. She's a nurse and is very close to the doctor she works with. And they did it all, and he just wanted to sign it. And then also, what is it called when you're the person's, what's that other thing called in place about making their choices? Not a POA, but
A representative?
you make their decisions. Yeah, you make their decisions for them medically. And it's called something, but I had to have that paperwork done too. Yeah, kind of like where you'll make any, if there's any consciousness or something where he can't make a decision, I can. And those were hard conversations. And believe me, he wanted to have it as brief as possible. He really doesn't want to beat this to death every day. And I respect that. So I talk to other people about it. So that he can feel comfortable, happy, because we want, Kelly and I, my daughter and I, want to make however much time he has left as joyful. And we also want to make the death process as loving and joyful as we can, because that is one of the processes we all have to navigate. Every one of us.
We all walk through that.
Yeah.
That's, so I do not really a church group, but like a spiritual group on Mondays. We often contemplate what is something that can bring us all together. And I often bring up the fact that we all gotta take that walk through life. And we all gotta make it up. And that's all a shared experience.
Yeah.
I truly wish the best for us.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you for
Can
listening.
I?
Yeah, sure. Make it the megaphones.
Yeah, sure. Let me give you a megaphone.
Yeah. So my mother died like 15 years ago, and it was a really long process. And this resonates a lot with what you are saying. Thank you very much for sharing. One thing that helped me a lot, it's a book that the name is called The Book of the Life and the Death of the Tibet. It really, really helped me to know what to do and know how support my mom. And, yeah. Thank you very much.
The name
for
of that
sharing.
book again, Cornelius?
I don't know in English, but I think it's the book of the death and the life and death of the
The
Tibet.
book of the Tibetan Book of the Dead. That's the name of the document.
Yeah, yeah, I think so.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for sharing. It really, really
Thank you for
touched me.
sharing
What
your
you
experience losing your mother.
If anybody else or else has
Really hard. And that you must give yourself this opportunity for you whole year. And the person who told me that was my minister, our pastor, where my mom was a member, and he was Polish, by just heritage, even speaks with an accent. And he said, Western civilization, America, we don't talk about death enough. We don't, it's taboo.
No, we
Everyone's
don't.
afraid of it. And so therefore, when it comes to us, and it comes to everyone's door, either expected or long term, we don't have the skills in place. And so,
Yeah, totally.
you might have, because of you said you're from Tibet? Where are you from?
No. I'm from Mexico, but I just live in a small town in Mexico, and there's a lot of people there that make meditation and that kind of stuff. But I'm really a skeptical guy. I love to meditate, and that book is really amazing because it talks about that. Like nobody wants to talk about death because they are afraid, or they just want to wait until the moment is happening
to deal with it.
But really, we should talk about it, and we should go deeper in what we want for our own, and then also for all the people that you take care of. Yeah.
I agree.
Thank you for sharing that, Cornelius. You too, Craig, for sharing that.
Yeah, very valuable experience.
Close to the end of our little event, we do have we take the time to hang out after.
After party.
Set it up. Yep. So this is
You want to share something,
do
David?
our little. Ultra Funky wanted to add something.
Yeah, sure. I think
Yeah,
the stuff is going on. Who was it? Ultra Funky?
Yeah, it was me, but you know, I had something that could be interesting for the group, but it will take some time, take some extra time. I'm willing to let other people go before me.
We don't have any other hand raises, so yeah, you can go first, I think.
David.
Yeah, please, David,
had
then.
his hand up for a
Oh
while.
yeah. Oh yeah, you're probably new to Altspace.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, welcome, welcome.
I actually just got. I just got my Oculus today.
Yay!
Oh,
Congratulations. Welcome to
Thank
to
you.
the
They're out
theory of
stock
everything.
everywhere.
Yeah, let me give my little talk.
Thank you.
This is theory of everything. So it's our topic that we chose, me and Mendes. There are two co-hosts. And we actually started this event as an amazing place where we could just like come and talk about anything we want to. And this is really cool that there's like a community of people who keeps coming back every week. So this is a weekly event. Every week we choose some topic that interests both of us. So that way we can discuss it with a big group of people. And every week we choose some cool stuff. And I'm amazed at how every event is unique and every time people share their experiences, and it really helps me to expand my mindset. So yeah, welcome. If you want to participate, you normally have a tool on your right, if I'm not mistaken, or on your left to raise your hand.
Yeah, I'm using that one.
Yeah?
That one there.
Yep, it worked. I think it worked. Let me check real quick. Yes, I see that. So I can give you a microphone. So go ahead. That's fine. I'm a teacher, so I like to instruct people for everything.
Awesome. Awesome. Well, thank you so much. How y'all doing, everybody? I'm Miss Claire. I kind of came in like in the middle end of everything that you were talking about. And first of all, I just, you know, want to say I know what it feels like to go through cancer. Having beat cancer 3 years ago was very tough. It was a very tough decision. It was a tough moment in my life. And I kind of see where your husband's kind of, I can relate to where he's wanting to just be himself, wanting to be, you know, as positive as he can possibly be. And I think that that was a huge part. That played a big role when I was going through cancer. I didn't want to feel like, oh, I don't want people to feel bad for me or feel sorry for me. Like I just wanted to just push it.
Yeah.
I just wanted to just give it all I could, right? And you know, I'm a spiritual man, and you know, and if it's okay, like the Bible says, everything that has breath, you know, praise the Lord, right? So, and I've always had this concept is as long as I have breath in my body, I'm just gonna keep giving God thanks for this breath, and I'm just gonna keep living life normal, despite chemo, despite radiation, despite the horrific medication that I had to go through. And I till this day, I don't know what my wife was going through at the time. I can say there was times where she was like, she went MIA. Like I couldn't find her for a little bit around the house. She'd be crying, obviously. She was trying to I guess hold that back from me, because it affected me. It did. But one of the biggest things is moral support, and the fact that you're doing that, you have a huge moral support. That's huge. That's something that
I agree.
Yeah.
It's like
Keeps
it's like a breath
dignity.
of fresh. Yeah, it gives you like that breath of fresh air. As someone having gone through it, what you're doing is perfectly normal, and like you said, you've gone through it already, and just keep being you. I think more than anything, something that somebody that went through it, just being yourself, being genuine. It's okay to cry, you know. It's okay to laugh. You know, it's biblical. There's a time for everything, right? And we're humans, you know. Sometimes emotions get to us, and they get the best of us. But sometimes it's actually a really good thing to do, because it releases what we have inside, and I think it's a healthy thing. And I mean, kudos to you. You know, you're seeing the people that you're seeing, and just one thing that I can tell you is keep being strong, keep being there for your husband. I think that's.
Yeah, I have a calm sounding voice. So, but I'm really like a straight duck on water who is smooth. Sorry, just trying to get to my. You hear me?
I can.
Okay, picture a duck. I'm a bit like a duck on water smoothly gliding, but underneath, paddling, 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 right? So
That's a great
I
Kind of going against, kind of like going against the current, essentially.
even because I do have people, so many people have told me that I have this calm voice and this soothing demeanor. They don't think I'm maybe suffering or something, or take, even if I get angry, my daughter kind of would giggle at it when she was younger. It was kind of funny because it was coming out of my face, which is a bit Pollyanna-esque, and my delivery, but same now. So I'm obviously very upset. I sound like, oh, you're taking it so well. I'm struggling, but more fear right now because, but once again, what if he lives a year? I don't want to spend 5 months of it, 4 months of it living in fear. So I've got to shake that off somehow and learn to compartmentalize it properly and deal with the day to day and go by that. And that's, I guess, my I've done a couple of things behind the scenes, like I called his best friend and told him, because he wouldn't have. And so by doing that, his best friend isn't telling him, but he called up and said, hey, can we come watch the Super Bowl with you? That delighted my husband. And so I felt good about that, because they might not have would have thought to do it. And he loves my husband, and my husband loves him like a brother from another mother, they always say. And it doesn't seem weird.
Like man does to me.
Doesn't know he knows. Yeah.
Yeah, no, but yeah, I really appreciate you sharing that. It
I
can be a very
appreciate you
tough.
sharing yours.
Absolutely,
May I
it can be a
ask
tough,
what kind
a
of
tough
cancer
subject.
you have? What kind
I
of
had
cancer you have?
non-Hodgkin's lymphoma,
Uh-huh.
so I had to go
Yeah.
through 3 months of chemotherapy, 18 rounds of radiation, and I lost it all, lost the job, lost everything. And
Oh,
but
gosh.
despite all that, I was able to get through it, and I thank God for
Live.
that opportunity.
Living is
Yeah.
the most important. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think just having a positive mindset, despite the fact, and I get that it's like, having gone through it, it's so difficult to keep positive when your life is literally in that situation, in that position. But despite that, you have to keep positive. And I'm a firm believer, like I said, I'm a spiritual man. We have to keep our thoughts captive. And every time I did have those negative thoughts or those fearful thoughts, or I think of that scripture that says, "For God did not give us a spirit of fear, but of power, of knowledge, and of a sound mind." So when you start to just practice, think of the goodness, everything that has happened that's been good in life. That just gives you a peace of mind, and it helps you. It's kind of like a like an inner drug when you like an inner drug that your body releases, I guess. When you just start thinking positivity, it's like it helps you somehow, some way. I don't know, but at least it did
Can
to
I
me.
ask your age? Do you mind if I ask your age?
Not at all. I'm 33. I just turned
Way
33,
too
so
young. Yeah.
I had it when I was 31 or
Same.
30.
Way too
Yeah,
young.
I'm 32.
going on 3 years since I've been on remission.
Oh,
So
good for you.
so
Good
yeah,
for you.
but thank you for sharing that story.
Yes,
So
and thank
and,
you for sharing.
Yeah.
Absolutely, and we'll keep your husband in our thoughts and prayers.
I'll keep you in
Thank you so
my
much.
thoughts.
And
keep
you
up
as well,
the
because
positive.
Love.
Yeah.
Peace to you guys.
Absolutely, thank you.
Yeah, thanks for sharing that. I feel responsible, and I think I'm proud that we created this place where people can come and actually talk about these important things. So this is a place where you meet people and hear valuable things from them. So thanks for sharing, guys. Whatever you say can be one of the most valuable pieces of precious experience that somebody will take away from here. So yeah, thanks for sharing. That's really valuable. You can save, the actually you see the banner behind you there. Let me show you. Excuse me. So this is my Instagram page. You can add me or Mendes, And this is an instruction how you can get to the website and subscribe to our channel. So if you have a channel, it's the easiest way to find and track us, because you can have a Discord channel there, and then you also can see the future events. If you subscribe to the channel, it's gonna basically send you the notification for the next event. But we try to keep it as stable as Friday and same time. So Russian time, it's 10 o'clock p.m. It's midnight. Yeah, Ultra Funky had his hand raised. Also, there was I think Jeanette was, I saw a hand raised a long time ago, but for some reason I don't see it in the list again. Janet, can I take some time, Ultra Funky, and give a megaphone to Janet, so maybe she wants to share something?
Hi.
Hello.
I think I just hit that inadvertently.
No, that's fine. Do you want to share something? Do you want to say anything that everybody can hear you?
No, just observing. This is my first time in this group, I think, so I'm just observing.
Yeah, welcome to Theory of Everything. Yeah.
Yeah.
Every week's
Thank you.
event is very different. It's it always has a different vibe. That's why I enjoy each of these events. We've been having it for a year, so every week on Fridays we have these events where we talk about different things. We just take one topic and I put it on the poster, and then we discuss all the way around it for 2 hours, and then we have after party. So now it's after party time, and the official time of the event is over. So some people left. So this is just a space where you can stay and have this bathe a little bit more in this energy of a positive discussion room. So yeah, I had the map on the background. Actually, I put some videos from space, but this is Ultra Funky. Let me give you a microphone, by the way. Okay. My voice is failing me a little bit. Okay, did you get it? Hold on. Strange. There you go.
Now I have it.
Yes, I'm gonna mute myself.
Okay. Staying here, listening to this, I think I got the thing right with boundaries, but then I also got hooked on Claire when she explained her situation about boundaries. And for me, what I take from this is that boundaries are not set on other people, boundaries are set on yourself, as I said before. And then it started to think like this. I have one way of thinking about things, like if I am a house and this house have thousands of doors, every door represents how I perceive different things. So this house and the door can be either just a hole in the wall that people can run in and out through, and they can hurt me and they can do whatever they want, and I can scream out through the door, and it's just people run through it back and forth, and I have no control. So in that question, I decide to put a door. And this door, that means that somebody has to knock before they can talk to me or communicate with me.
Oh, wow, that's a great metaphor.
You knock on the door, and then what?
I love your metaphor. That's great. It's like a house with many compartments.
So this house is the door. Then I have to knock on the door, and sometimes people are, they're a little bit. They don't knock on the door. They just open the door and walk in. But still, that makes things go a little slower through the hole because now there's a door. Then I just decide with certain things that, it's a question I don't have time for, or I cannot take it, or I cannot do it. I put a door and I put a lock on the door. For sure, I'm gonna be very nobody's gonna bother me with this question. I'm gonna put that aside for a while. I'm gonna unlock it when I have time, or if I know more, or if I want somebody to run through this door. So this is that one. And then I'm thinking like, okay, now I have a little bit more control of the situation, my boundaries, how people can meet me and how I can meet them. And then there is sometimes when I get really angry, and this is the really bad situation, that's when I decide to build a stone wall around my house. Nobody gets in, nobody gets out.
Not on my watch.
And yeah, exactly. And that is the losing scenario. Really bad thing, and that where we don't want to go there, but that's a bad
You don't
situation.
want
You
to
meet
wall
people
yourself.
that locks themselves totally. But when you were talking, this is the thing that started to pop up in my mind. So I would say, like, have a door, maybe put a lock on it, have it locked if you need, but
It's a
preferably have
key
it
in it.
open.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly, have it opened, and that I can say, like, that for me is boundaries that I can understand, but not putting it
Mhm.
on other ones. They can run, they can do whatever they want, but I decide when or what goes through the doors. And that is the
Mhm.
thing I had to work with. That's the boundaries, and that was what I got from when you were explaining things, Claire, the way you were approaching things. So I'm just want to
Mhm.
say that to make it more clear in the
Yeah.
way that,
You see it.
you
Yeah.
see it more
Thank you.
easily in that light. So if you
Yeah.
wanna if you're gonna go to the hardware, if you wanna get hurt, you don't have a door on that door. You don't put the door because then people can run and hurt you. In and out. But you can
Mhm.
decide how you want and when you want. So that's the thing. That's the only
Yeah.
thing I want to say in the end. So when I heard you talking.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
I appreciate that. Yeah. I liked your metaphors.
Yeah, I also keep thinking about these social factors, like as you said, like with these doors. It's like literally having a door and having a house. Like it's just those little things that change, and it becomes difficult to understand what, like, not difficult to understand that neighborhoods, like our social surroundings, also shape how we see those doors and where we put those doors and what's the territory and what's the environment outside the territory that makes us act in a certain way. If you have to shut the doors and put locks on them and put a high fence, it's probably because we live in an environment where you have a hostile surroundings. That's another factor that actually influences our personal lives, and I hope that I see that your story, Claire, is amazing because it shows how safe the environment is as where you are. So because you can go through this process very civilized and go through this process with a totally different mindset and emotions, because if you had to fight with this situation in a terrible country with a bad economy or maybe low level of I don't know, medical system, or maybe if you had like a troubled financial situation, I feel like a lot of people have those different experiences, and that really bothers me because I feel like when I'm in this room, I feel how great the energy is. Like people are very positive, they're respect each other, they're highly educated, intellectual people, and I really enjoy the company. But sometimes I have this, other world where we have a totally different picture of the world, and some people suffer, and I feel like there's a larger field of energy that comes from our whole humankind, and it's not very how do I say, like, look at the map. I think that map actually illustrates things very clearly. This is a map of famine that happens in the world, and look at those countries that are on fire. African countries, they're starving, and look at that statistics. That's crazy. More than 35% of people malnutrition or starving. What's the numbers again? So prevalence of undernourishment in the total population per percent. So 35% of people in those countries, like those dark purple ones, they're starving, and it shows how different our world is, like the different levels of development of different countries, and those different variations of emotions that people feel all over the world. Imagine if a world had like this basically this atmosphere of human happiness, let's say, or maybe human emotions, and overall wellness that's going on around the world. So I wish we really sit
I'm
down
not
and
with you there, Assi.
really, yeah, I want to. What
Yeah.
I think is that what I'm heading to is like I think I also want to continue on the idea that it's a really good idea that we assemble as a humankind every 10 years, let's say, and think about the course that we should take as a humankind to improve our level of life all over the world. That's what I'm saying. It's like a totally different branch of
Life
thoughts.
for everyone.
Yeah, hopefully
That's-
as much as possible.
That's presuming that everybody has the same culture and mindset that you have. So when you
They
have your
don't.
culture and your mindset, you think that other people on the other side of the world are having a bad situation. But maybe their culture has made them think in a different way that they don't. It's not that hard for them to live in those situations, and we just believe because out of we just know ourselves the best.
Out of
and we don't know
ignorance,
them.
yeah.
So yeah,
Right.
so I would say like when we go there and think that we can change the world and we will make it so much better for other people. I'm not really sure we do. I think maybe we're actually doing it worse for them because the world has become too big. That's how I see it.
I disagree.
I know that my
Okay.
brother used a scenario where I saw my older brother and his wife and their family as tumultuous. There's a loud family, they're always arguing, there's always a serious drama going on, and being the personality I am, I always want to fix and help it. And he said, Claire, if you say they need fixing, you're insulting them because to them that's how they live, that's what they're used to. For you, go in and tell them they need fixing to be more like you.
Well,
to
what
make
about the
you
level of
comfortable.
education? What about the level of life? To me, I think that's. I don't believe that somebody is going to choose if you give them a chance within 100 years, for example, of fixing the economical situation. It takes generations. I think it takes generations to change from one way of mindset, one mentality to another one. It takes 3 generations to shape, and I think that's to me the way I see the world. I think that people have this universal soul standard. Yeah, of course, everybody's on a different level of development, but I am sure that whether it's motivated or not, you have to change the reality so that way it slowly affects the mindset of people. Whatever country you take, if you create beautiful buildings, if you create more educational programs, and if you support people, if you support like healthy lifestyle, if you support healthy initiatives, it's going to change the mindset. We will give it 50 years of peaceful life. Any person, any mentality is going to change dramatically in one direction.
As long as it's respectful to that place's culture.
That's what I'm saying.
I would say that you really corrected the principles of what the things you says. That's how I perceive it. I'm not going to push it on you, but how I perceive it. But what do a person, if we take a little obscure village in Japan where there maybe live 300 people, we're going to take the kids from their school and teach them how to build skyscrapers because we do that in New York.
No, that's not what I said.
That's too far away. No, but I'm just saying that's too far away. So I mean, the way that the culture that European comes from and think that this is the minimum level of knowledge, maybe that's already too high or really an uninteresting path of knowledge that they really don't need. And we're pushing that on them, and that's how I feel about it. That we're trying to fix something that there's no reason to fix from the beginning because they need to, I cannot push people to learn in a certain pace. They can only decide how fast they want to learn themselves.
Yes, but
I give them the possibilities. I cannot go there and change the rules and everything. I have to say I'm willing to help you, but I cannot tell you need to do this because you're in the EU or anything else that you need to change your country like that.
I'm talking about the different change, not about expansion, but about intensity of the principles. What I'm saying is universal to any country. it's not invading into the cultural lifestyle of people. It's actually giving them like a universal language of care and like universal principle of creation and of positive thinking of sustainable future. That's what I'm talking about. To change the educational system and to fund things that are really true and good. To protect your planet, to protect your family, to be happy, to like teach those principles and to invest a vast amount of money into entertainment and combining it with general development and taking away the focus of the new generations from consumerism to acquiring knowledge, to changing into the future society where people can be friendly with each other and when in any situations train those abilities to survive in the world that is coming and be happy in that world and create the world that will happy other generations, upcoming generations.
I know on a very smaller scale than what you're talking about, and I'm sure everyone's experienced something like this and maybe thought it, but I was raised Catholic, and I raised my daughter Catholic, and she went to a parochial school, and we're very spiritual. We have a bit of a problem with organized religion in the sense of the building, not
Yes,
the
very good
belief
point.
system per se. Because I mean, I've traveled on Wander a lot. I don't know if any of you have done the app. It's wonderful if you haven't. Not very expensive, and you can go all over the world and
Wonder.
see other cultures close up and meet people from other countries. One thing I've noticed in my searching castles and churches in particular, tend to be Catholic, is the money that is put into the house of God, right? And the people attending, some of them can't afford to feed their children or make kids. And I find that that juxtaposition outrageous. I have a problem with that, where you must tithe 10%, but yet you're starving. Not me, but whomever. There's people in the congregation that are. They may just be too proud to reach out and let people know. There's always that upper echelon. It's like a
You want
cliff,
more
rich. Yeah.
Yeah, I see. Like you want people to pray. You want to have something beautiful for people to go there, but in the end, the people that should go there are starving and disappearing because they cannot afford it.
The church is so
And that's the wrong way to go about it.
Yeah, you have to keep the upkeep of it because it's 1800s and the AC and all that. So they need the money to keep it up, and that is not what spiritualism and religion should be about.
I would have another example
Feeding
to
the
this.
congregation.
I have another perspective that we shouldn't push knowledge too hard. If we look in Japan and South Korea, there are lots of women that are single, and those two countries are really are countries where we have the family is really important. It's much more important than in the States and Europe and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're very
really have a
patriarchal.
system that needs to take care of
Yeah.
them.
Yeah,
They're
Korea.
really important that they have a functional family. And there are more and more women that hit their 30, 35, 40, and they are single. And then they started to look at what's happening here. Why there are so many women that don't meet men and have cats? This is just an example what's happening there. It's also happening in Europe now.
Yeah, they have the lowest level of fertility, less than one, I think, in South Korea, very developed country.
Yeah, and we had the same problem in Europe, but there you see it more noticeably. You can notice it more. And the thing is that then they start to ask themselves, what happened? And they said, yeah, we started to educate people, and we needed more and more people for the consumer society we have. So we needed to take the women from the family and home and say that you can become whatever you want to become, and you have the possibility to work and make money as men and have that path in your life, and fulfill it with education and go on, continue that way and be a force for the country, so the country can spin a little bit easier because we don't have enough people working. And now when the women have in Japan and South Korea have bought into this, they are in a situation where they have worked instead of focusing on having the best thing you can have, a family.
Love
and
that picture.
and they're losing out now so much on that. And that is the thing where when I connect, I may be wrong, Azzy, when you say you should educate people, you should do things, teach them. And then I think about this and I said, like, yeah, we gave them a thought, and the government gave them a possibility. And not saying it be women, because this is just an example, this is probably other with men also, but gave them a possibility. And now when they changed them so much because they thought and they needed the workforce, now they have destroyed a whole
Population?
generation
Culture.
or two.
Culture.
Uh,
Yeah. But
yeah,
here's
and the
what,
culture
you know what
too.
I think a lot of it is? And we can't know for sure. We kind of, but we're not far off with what you're saying. And I bet I'm not far off with what I'm saying. They saw their mothers and their grandmothers, right? They saw what that looked like. And then they were offered an alternative, and they took it with both hands and ran, because that past subservient seeming lower class human, the wife, the mother, uh, toiling, over dinner, and the husband being the,
The absolute
they just
power.
like in America, yeah, and that also, it's more common probably in other countries now, just like it became more common in America for two-income families to be necessary. And the reason is, of course, of material things.
Mm-hmm.
People wanted more material things, be it a boat, bigger house, private school for their kids. And I can remember when my mother went to work when I was in fourth grade. It's traumatic. My brother was 5 years older than me, and I was left in the hands of two older brothers who could tease me. He called my mom at work every day, poor her. So teasing me. But we got used to it. But it was a shock to the system at first, I will say. But it was necessary. My dad's company went on strike. It was before he was in management and in union. So she went to work temporarily. Then when he went back to work, they decided together, well, that money's good. Why don't we keep it on, keeping it going? How that, and then pretty soon, every family had a two-family income, and daycare came around. But I think what's wrong with the world, a lot of times, I know in America I feel this, is everybody's gotten so far spread out. Raise children, they move across the country with their job. Now you're no longer, the family union is no longer right here. Where grandma used to just be and you'd move them in. They became elderly. It wasn't a big deal. Now they're
Takes a
5
village
states
to raise a
away.
kid.
Yeah, and to move them in is a major ordeal, because they don't want to leave where they're at. You can't leave where you're at. And my mother was always saying, I don't want to be a burden to my children. And I go, Mom, the only people that are burdened to their children are the ones that will not relocate. Because if we're working and not retired, we can't relocate to you. You have to come to us. And if you're willing to do that, then everything works out much smoother. Even if it's giving you an apartment across the way from us or something. If you don't want to actually live in the same house somewhere. You know what, you follow me. But we spread out so far that we became less family oriented. I know people, my family is extremely tight, but I know people who think, oh gosh, you got to go home for Thanksgiving. Oh, what a nightmare. We'll make it through the day, My gosh, we don't feel that way in my family at all. But I know people who do, and I know people who said that to my parents. Oh, your kids are coming? Oh my gosh, poor yous, with all their kids. my parents loved it. They were like,
Mm-hmm.
you know, I'm one of the lucky ones in regards to, losing
Family
my
bonds.
parents is one of the hardest things I've ever gone through. Next stage will be the most hard. You expect to lose your parents. But it was tough. I mourned my dad, and then mom died 5 years later, and very suddenly, but we knew it was going to come. She chose not to have the surgery that would probably have killed her. And, but it happened quickly, so that phone call I got from my brother is a shock. I will never forget, never get over the shock of that phone call. But there again, she died suddenly. There's something to be said for that, as opposed to knowing it's coming and it lingering and you watching them deteriorate. Once again, they lived in another state. I felt bad for not being there with her. Wouldn't have changed a thing. But, the family unit, and that's kind of what you're talking about with the Asian women going out on their own.
But that's just
and
an example
being
why we
single.
shouldn't move knowledge or move culture over to other parts of the world. Think if this would happen, that we would make these changes not only to Japan's South Korea, but China too.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
saying all the women should,
I
give them
see what you're
education. Not that I
saying.
don't know, we should have the education, of course, but somehow we also have to do it understanding that we're gonna change things or doing it smart or slower or as we said before. But,
Yeah, it's interesting.
I think it's also
Interesting
the shift.
concept.
It's also the shift of the culture, because if we the
People don't
countries,
like change. Yeah.
yeah, if we talk about Russia, for example, African countries or like Asian countries, they're all very family based, very patriarchal, and I think it's like very traditional to have like families as a main value. And that should not go away, but I think there are a lot of things we should work on, because a lot of those societies in their highest areas of saturation of those exaggeration of those qualities, they have a very unhealthy situation towards women. I know that a lot of women they don't think this way because they are victims of the indoctrination that was going on for 2 or 3 generations. They don't even realize that they want to change something, because they are so trapped in that lifestyle that they have. For example, I live close to Chechnya or Ingushetia. You will not believe how close it is in kilometers to me, like how many hours drive, and how vastly far that is from normal and far away from liberal, situation where people have rights. You can disappear in that place
How many
and
of
just
us didn't all of our hearts go out? Well, I think I'll speak for women, because men, you just cannot have the same perspective. But you can try to, and I know men are sensitive to it and woke. But when the troops left, and all those women that were allowed education and being involved, when we knew it was going to go, now it's going to go back
to wearing
how
burqas.
badly it was heartbreaking to think that being snatched, having freedom and it being snatched from you. That's what
but
I'm
that
thinking.
little seed that was planted while they
Yes.
had the possibility to educate themselves, isn't that the important thing? That at least it started somewhere.
Yes, I
know.
think you're right.
Or it could continue having no education at all. Maybe the United States wouldn't go there at all, and they wouldn't have even had that seed.
I don't know.
We cannot
I
give
don't know.
Interesting.
people everything all at once. We need to give them
Yeah.
in portions where they can take their power, their knowledge, and work with it the correct way. So maybe I would say maybe this is a healthier way, even if it's a very painful way. Maybe it's a healthier way to go about it.
Maybe. That's a very valid point. I've got to run, guys. I've really enjoyed.
Yeah.
Boy, this is something that's I could
Yeah.
sit and do
Next
all day.
week, same time.
Yeah.
It's really.
It's
you
one of
have
the
this
good
every
events. Yeah.
Friday.
Yeah. Every Friday, same
Yeah, every
time.
Friday.
Mhm.
What time?
Yep. 3. So this is the
Time do you-
2 hours 35 minutes since the start. So yeah, you can count in your own time zone.
Okay, I'll put it in my
Calendar.
log it into my
Woohoo.
calendar.
Yeah.
And
As I
because
said, you can.
I've been missing a lot of stuff. I've tried to remember or save, and then the alert doesn't come up or I miss it. And
yeah,
I'm
if the
trying to
time
get
is
better at it.
convenient, yeah, always come. This is amazing. I enjoy it. I have a lot of work,
I'm
and I get tired a lot. But still, I enjoy these events so much that I'm ready to skip hours of sleep and actually know that tomorrow I might be, hesitate. I mean, might regret that. Anyway, you see, my voice is.
Yeah, my therapist has actually told me this is a good escape hatch for me. On Oculus, I go to karaoke and sing, which takes me completely out of anything I'm worrying about. Or I go to Wander, and I have friends that I've met there, and I consider them friends. And one girl and I talk on the phone now. She's a grief counselor, and she had lost her son. I feel I was meant to meet her, and at this time.
Do you know that
we're
they're
same age, very similar?
Do you know that there are death Q&A events here on Altspace? There's so many different events that you might like. Yeah.
Yeah, it's on Tuesdays, and that's the one I forgot. I had it in the afternoon and then again later.
I think I saw them
Tuesday.
yesterday or some time ago.
Yeah, I think I was singing.
Oh yeah, sounds great.
I like to sing. I'm not very good, but I go to karaoke in the trees. And some
it doesn't matter. Yeah, it's the joy that you get
there. And some people like me who squeak by on a song, and I don't care though. I'm gonna get out there and I'm gonna sing my song.
Yeah.
Music is the best.
Good.
Yeah, it really does. It's very healthy for the soul.
Yeah, I'm still
really
terrified
feels
of my own voice. I was at karaoke and my friends were like, "Oh, it was amazing! You're doing a good job." Then I saw the video. I'm like, "What? I am never gonna sing again. Never again."
The videos. That's the worst mistake you can do is watch a video of something.
Yeah. Yourself singing.
I want to rapture in my ignorance.
Yeah.
And sing my song and hit bad notes. And when I get done, people are throwing flowers while you're up there, and they're all very supportive, and they don't come over and say, "Wow, you should never do that again." Even though every time I sing to follow this girl that's like a professional singer. I'm like, why am I always following her? That's my husband calling. Okay, guys.
Okay.
Thank you.
Take care.
Really
Yeah.
enjoyed it.
Thanks for coming. Bye. Okay.